Today I'm showing you guys how I turn hand-drawn t-shirt designs into vector t-shirt designs using Illustrator. And the app that I use most to do all my rough sketches and all my final sketches is the app called Procreate. And a lot of you probably already heard of it. I use it on my 11-inch iPad Pro and it's amazing. Whenever I'm doing any hand-drawn merch for a client, I always start off in Procreate doing my rough sketch and then I import that rough sketch into Illustrator. You guys are about to see how that entire process unfolds. And if you guys are really loving my work, you guys can leave a like on my video. That just tells me that you enjoy the video and I'm doing something right. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started on this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. What I just did is sent my artwork from my iPad Pro over to my MacBook Pro and then I just imported it into Illustrator. Since I'm working with the vector program, I can resize this artwork to any size later on and it won't lose quality, which is the beauty of vector. So we're good there. The other thing you notice is it is faded, and that's because I lowered the opacity by making this a template. So if I go back to this main layer, we can turn that template layer off, click OK. So now it's dark like it should be. But if I double click on layer 1, which is where my artwork is, if I double click on that layer, I can go to template, just basically check template. And from here, I can dim it as much as I want. So I'm going to dim it, let's say actually 30%. Hit OK, and that just made it a template. If I wanted to, I can click on layer 1 and just name that template or whatever, just so we know what it is. So if I toggle that on and off, you can see that it is our template layer now. On layer 2, we can name this design. So now everything's organized and we are ready to start laying down our artwork, right? The first thing I want to do is actually go to my ruler. So I'm going to do Command R. And the reason why is because I want to make a center ruler just so I know exactly where the center should be. And then I want to start using my pen tool to kind of go around the shape and fine tune it. Things will change probably based on how I feel about the art. But anyway, I'm going to go right here and just follow along. So I'm just going to make this path. And again, I'm using my pen tool, guys. Really simple stuff, just basic stuff here. Again, you can always change it as you go. But for the most part, I do want to follow the shape that I have on my rough sketch here. So I think right there should be okay. But I want to make sure this is just a stroke. So we're going to hide the background color, right? And do I like that? I think that will work. So we're going to go ahead and stick with that. And I want to go ahead and continue this point. So we're going to select this point right here. And we're just going to continue it, right? Just like this. And I'm going to let go. And another thing is you'll see these little handles, right? And if you don't want those handles, which I actually don't want, we could just basically hold an option, hover over it, and you're going to see a upside down V or an arrow. And you just click once and it will get rid of that point, that handle, whatever you want to call it. So now I am left with this shape. Things are looking pretty good. What we can do from here is we can duplicate it on the other side. But before I do that, what I want to do is actually take an ellipse and I want to copy the same cutout right here. So I'm using this ellipse, and then what I want to do from here is I want to select everything at once, go to my Pathfinder, and just delete it out, if that makes sense. We're just deleting it out. So now we have the shape and we can use the join tool. So using the join tool, we can literally just draw over the points that we want to join together and we should be good to go from there. And what I want to do now is actually take this and rotate it, or not rotate it, sorry, reflect it. So I'm going to go to my reflect tool. You can also hit O on your keyboard. And then I want to go to the top center here and I just want to reflect it vertically. By reflecting it vertically, we have the same exact shape on the right side. Let's go and hide the rollers. And I want to join the top together. So I'm going to go back to my join tool and join those together. So now we're copying the same exact roundness on the top. That looks really good. From here, we can also play with the stroke thickness and all that stuff, but I'm not too concerned with it quite yet. Another thing that just happened at the bottom since we joined it is it created this weird point, and we could just use the scissors to cut that out since we don't really need that. Just like that. The next thing I want to do is click on the shape and just change the thickness, because right now it's really thin, obviously, right? So I want to see what is too thick and what's too thin, kind of come up with some sort of happy medium. And I think 8 will be kind of cool for the main thickness, and then the inner stroke will be a lot thinner. We might even want to finish the shape off, so I'm just going to do that real quick, just so everything is the same. What I should have did first actually is finished off the bottom part, so I'm just going to cut the top now and do the same thing. I'm going to reflect it real quick just to fix that problem that I encountered. Like I said, I should have made sure this was all done first. So I got ahead of myself a little bit, but that's okay. It's easy to fix. So I'm going to do the same thing, use my reflect tool. Now this is what I want, right? Now I want to go back to my join tool and we can finally join everything together once again. So I'm using my little anchor points here to round, right? And I don't have to worry about this one because the banner is going to be covering these points right here. So we're good to go right there. Making the inside stroke is actually really simple. So we're going to select our frame or our border, whatever you want to call it. We're going to go down to path and we're going to go to offset path, okay? And then from here, I want to check preview. And as you can see, we already have that inside shape going, right? But we actually want the outside one to be inside because that's the one that we're messing with right now. So I'm going to just type in a negative sign and uncheck preview and check it again. And that looks pretty good. So I think I want it to go out just a little bit more, or should I say go inside a little bit more. That looks way better. And now let's change the stroke thickness to, let's say 4. And voila, now you have this really cool inner border. And from here, we can actually cut this middle part out on the top where our eye is gonna sit. We have this like nice little shape. Does it need to be there? Probably not, but I thought it looked kind of cool. Kind of where we want to cut it out. This is way too big, so we need to make it a little smaller. And I do think it can have a little bit more breathing room. I totally clicked on the wrong tool. Oops. We're deleting the parts that we don't want, right? And then we can also use our join tool again and join those back together. The next thing I want to worry about is my banner. Get that in place first, and then we can worry about the bottom part. And now I could drag out a rectangle. So I'm just hitting M on my keyboard and dragging out a rectangle. And I also do want to solid fill this, but we'll do that in a little bit. I just want to make sure I'm copying the same shape here. The next thing I want to do is add a warp, right? So I'm going to go up to Effect, which you can find all the cool effects in Illustrator, and I want to go to Arc. And then from here, we just want to kind of copy that same arc, which is why I didn't do a solid fill, because I want to see if I can kind of copy that same, like I said, arc. Pretty simple, right? Let's go ahead and move it down a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. It's also a little bit bigger, I think, in the normal design. But again, we can change things as we go. That's the beauty of this, right? Next thing I want to do is make sure it matches the outer stroke width. So I want the points to be the same. I'm just taking my eyedropper tool and eyedropping the outside stroke just like this. And as you can see, it looks way better now. And then we can solid fill this with white so it hides everything that we don't want to see. So what I want to do is drag out a rectangle. I'm going to add a center point here. We're just going to take our point and drag it in. And we can rotate this using our transform tool. Look at that. Way better, way better. So it could be a little bit taller and send that behind just to get a visual of what it's gonna look like. And I do wanna select the points. So we're gonna select the bottom point and the top point. We're gonna make it a little bit longer without, changing the actual path here. This looks way better. So from here, we could just close this gap that's in between. Just like that. Instead of making that a stroke, we can just make that a solid fill, get rid of the stroke. See, I'm just kind of making adjustments as I go, right? That's basically all you have to do. And then sometimes you have to get really close, so zoom really far in and just select certain points, right? So I'm going to select this point on the outside and just drag it in so it kind of meets. And we can always fix little imperfections later on, but I'm not too concerned with that right now. We're going to reflect that to the right side. And I'm always using this reflect tool. So I'm finding a center point and I have one right there and I'm gonna reflect it vertically and it should be perfect. And that looks good. We just have to add our little accents and our center skull piece and we are done, guys. It's simple as that. So the next thing I would like to do is maybe focus on the outside parts, these feathers, whatever you want to call them. I don't even know if I like them, but I feel like they kind of added something to it. So let's just try it out real quick and see what happens. What I want to do is show you guys how I make that real quick. And then I'm going to fast forward the video until the end of when I'm done making those, because there's so many of them. It's just going to take way too long. But anyway, the way I make them is I take 2 ellipses. So I'm just going to drag out 2 ellipses with a stroke. So I do want them to have a stroke. And we're going to create a center shape, right? So we're going to copy one of them over. So now I have one and I'm going to copy it over until it creates that shape in the center. You see that? So now we have that shape that we were going for. And then from here, what I could do is select both, go to my shape builder tool and just make sure I add a shape in the center. We can make it a bright color if we wanted to. And let's get rid of that stroke so we can see what we're doing. So now we have that bright yellow color. If I copy that over or cut it, we could delete those shapes now. We're left with just the solid shape in the center. See what I'm saying? So all I did was use my shape builder tool. And from here, we can change it to white. And we also obviously want to add that same stroke just so everything looks consistent. So I'm just going to copy it over by using the eyedropper. But anyway, what I want to do now is just create this center piece. And I want it to be sharp, right? Now that I have that line, I can go to the uniform right here and I could just make sure it is on the sharp point. Just like this one right here. I think that looks much better. And we can extend it to the bottom. We're kind of creating that center line that we see on our drawing, right? And then we need to make it thinner. It's way too thick. And a lot of this is going to be hidden, right? So I'm not really too concerned with the bottom part here. We're going to put this in place and start laying them all down. So I'll see you guys in a second. I have all the main feathers, leaves, whatever you want to call them, down. And what I want to do is just copy them to the left side. So I'm selecting all of them, holding in shift, and we're going to group those together and just send them to the back, make sure everything is sent to the back. And we can just copy them over to the left side by using the reflect tool again. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a center point and just click once, and then I'm going to copy it over to that left side. There's definitely some adjustments I can make, but I think it's fine for now. And then the next thing I want to do is just make the bottom leaves. They're a little small though. I don't know, I might make them a little bigger. So we're just going to take the one from the top and copy it over. In order to create those sharp points that I had on my banner on the original sketch, like if I hide this final design, you can see these little sharp lines. Those are really easy to make. So I'm just going to take my shape builder tool, make sure it's on black, solid fill, and no stroke. And we're just going to create a half of a triangle. And then what I want to do now is duplicate it by reflecting it. Again, I'm using the reflect tool. Copy that over. That didn't work, so let's select that again. Select the bottom point maybe and copy that over. That worked beautifully. I just want to create one copy of it in case I mess up. So I'm just going to drag that over to the left side there. We're going to drag one over like this, and we're going to make one shorter and longer, right? We're going to make them have a little bit more variations. I don't know, it looks like spikes, right? But in a minute, it's going to look a little better, I think. Our original design had more spacing between them, so I just rounded them off just like this. And I think this is going to look much better. So I'm going to ungroup them actually, and we're just going to mess with them a little bit more. And obviously they don't have the same arc, so we do need to add that arc real quick. And I could just go up to warp, arc, and just give it a slight arc. You don't want to go crazy with this part because it's actually easy to mess this up. These look pretty good now. So now what I want to do is reflect them on the right side. So I'm just going to go to the middle, reflect, and then copy that over. So now we have them on the right side as well. So we're just going to copy the same exact positioning and everything and see what they look like. And these can be a lot thinner. You do need to adjust it, but again, it's something that you just have to do manually. There's no really easy way to do this. So this middle one or this end one, I actually do have to make it a little bit longer to fit. So again, you do have to do some adjusting, but it shouldn't take very long. I think this looks pretty good. So I want to take my eraser tool and delete the parts I don't want to show on my banner. Does that make sense? Just like that. So now if I zoom out, you can see that it's in place, and they might even be a little long now. So I might have to actually adjust them again. And once again, I'm going to reflect them on the right side so that everything is even and symmetrical. So if I zoom out, you can see we have this really cool design going now. The next thing I want to do though is add this top eye real quick. And in order to do that, I'm going to use my ellipses once again. So I know we're kind of breezing through this, but this is really difficult to explain. So do the best you guys can to follow along. I will do the best I can to explain it, but there's only so much I can do. So practice makes perfect, guys. Just remember that. And I'm going to take my shape builder tool once again, and we're going to delete the top part and the bottom part. Now we are left with this eye only, which is what I wanted. And I can resize this center one to fit right here. And let's go ahead and drag that into place and see what it looks like. That looks super good. And we can add those keys and everything, and things are going to start falling into place. Now that I have everything else in place, what I want to do is go grab my skull. So I actually pulled up my original Procreate drawing in a separate document. And what I want to do is just hit image trace, and we're going to do a quick image trace on this. This is really ugly right here. I don't like the way this turned out. So what I want to do is actually, first off, ignore the white, but then I want to make some quick adjustments. So I want to take the noise all the way down so we can bring back some of that original texture. And then I also want to mess with the paths a little bit more. And what I want to do is actually delete everything else around the skull itself. So that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and ungroup this, and let's take the keys by themselves, copy those over, paste them in place, and then we're going to drag them at the bottom here. Copy that over, paste it, and then we're just going to align it now once it's pasted and just kind of figure out the positioning of where we want it. And there is a little part here that needs to be deleted. That's easy. I just double click on it. I could delete that. The keys are a little too big too, so I'm going to resize those. I think everything looks pretty good so far. Now what I want to do is add the text. So I'm going to take my ellipse and just drag out a quick ellipse around the skull's head. And I'm just going to drag this out above the skull's head just like this and kind of make sure it has a good arc on it. So we're looking at more of an oval. And then I want to go to type on a path and just type out hustle. I found a font that I like. I'm using the one I used in my previous video called, I think it's Collis. And yeah, I just feel like it fits the vibe of this design. Now, the one thing I don't like is this awkwardness on top here. There's things we can do to fix it, but I think for now it's fine. So again, we're using an ellipse to create this work path, right? So I'm just going to create that real quick. And then I'm going to go to type on a path again, and we're going to type out or die. So hustle or die. And I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to change the spacing in the center. So it does need a little bit more breathing room. So let's change the font size just a little bit. Let's go 47 with the font size and go to character and just change the baseline shift one more time. And I do want to mess with these anchor points just to make sure it is completely centered. And the font size is 47, so I want to do the same thing to the top. We want to change that to 47, just like that. And we can also change the kerning if we wanted to. And for the sides right here, to fill them up, I want to experiment with some text. So I'm going to go to my vertical type tool and just type out quality. And then on the right side, let's duplicate that and then type out threads. Actually, what I want to do, instead of quality, I'm going to type out TRD for trade and then MRK for mark. For now, I think this works. So, okay, so that's basically it. What I want to do is clear everything off my artboard just so we have the design, and let's hide the rough sketch and just look at what we have so far. I love the way everything looks. So we're going to go ahead and create one more artboard, and this is where the design, in my opinion, comes together. So what I want to do is copy it over just like this. We're going to add some texture to everything else but the skull. What I want to do is go up to effect. We're going to go to pixelate and then mesotint. And the reason why is because I want to add some texture to it, right? And we want to make sure it's grainy. After messing around with some of the settings and the different grain types, I came up with this one. I think it looks pretty good, so I'm just going to stick with it. And then what I want to do now is just take my skull and just drag it in place, right? And I think that looks much better. Everything looks like it actually belongs together. And then from here, if we wanted to, we can add color and stuff like that, which I might do in a little bit. But as is, I think this is really, really cool. All right, so I know, whoa, that was weird. I know that I said I wasn't going to color it, or I didn't say anything about coloring maybe. I forgot what I said, to be honest with you guys. But the point is, I decided to color it, and I think it looks awesome. And what I did is I actually colored it using Procreate. So I took my vector artwork, I exported it as a PNG, and I airdropped it to my iPad Pro, brought it back into Procreate, and I did all my coloring and all that stuff under the black layer. So here's what it looked like, a little time lapse real quick, but I think it looks awesome with color. What do you guys think? But other than that, that's how I do everything, right? That's how I take my hand-drawn design and turn it into a vector t-shirt design using Procreate and Illustrator together. It's like a perfect relationship, right? But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button, leave a comment in the section below, and turn on notifications so you don't miss another video. And if you guys want to watch my last t-shirt design video, it's going to be right here somewhere on the screen. Go ahead and click on that and you guys can watch it now. But that's it for me. Keep creating, keep being awesome. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.